I graduated from high school in 1969 before the era of calculators and cell phones. Our high school had a great math department, and my algebra teacher taught us this method of computing square roots seems to work by magic. I'm a retired software developer, so my mindset is just to be happy there are smart people who figure out how to write functions that work. However, my 7th grade granddaughter is one of those smart people who wants to know why a function works. I'm an applied math major, and I still don't know how this works, but it does. The first thing we have to do is prepare our number to evaluate that we're taking the square root of. The number must be ticked. I don't know a better word to use, so I'll just use ticked. Before starting the evaluation, the number must be ticked in pairs from right to left, left to the decimal point, and left to right, right of the decimal point. Here's some examples. We've got the number 625, so we start to the right of the number and tick right to left. So we tick 20, put a tick mark before the 2 and 25, and then notice it's divided into two sections. 1296, notice we have a 12 and a tick mark and a 96. A big number like 80,802,121 would be ticked like this, going right to left. The number 3, and I want to carry this out to 4, I want to compute the calculation to 4 decimal points so I can round it to 3, would be ticked like this. Notice we ticked it in pairs, right or left to right, and the decimal point itself is a tick mark. So that's how we tick the numbers. So we're going to start off with an easy one. We're going to compute the square root of 625. So the first thing we do is prepare the number 625 for computation. And we take it out like this. Notice that I added some zeros to the right of the decimal point just to demonstrate how you would tick it if this wasn't a perfect square. So the first question we ask ourselves, what is the maximum number squared that is less than or equal to 6? Notice it's ticked right there. Well, 3 squared would be 9, which would be too big, so 2 is the biggest number we can square and be less than or equal to 6. So we take this 2 and we square it, get 4, subtract it from the 6, and we get 2. Then we bring down the next set of tick marks right here that I have designated in brown, and we double the answer in the answer line. So we take 2 times 2, which is 4, and bring it down here to the work area. The next question is, we ask ourselves, how many times does 40-something go into 225? And the answer is 5. So we write 5 up here that I have designated in blue in the answer line, and also write 5 to the right of the squared 2 that we determine up here, the 4, and we multiply 5 times 45. 5 is 25, 5 4s are 20, carry the 2, 225, and notice the answer is 25. And most of us know that by memory. So we'll pick a little bigger number. And I wonder what this square root of 1,296 is. So we prepare 1296 for computation. Notice how I ticked right to left of the numbers left of the decimal point, and left to right the numbers right at the decimal point here. So we ask ourselves, what is the maximum number squared that is less than or equal to 12? the answer is 3. So we write 3 up here in the answer line. We square it. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract it, and we get 3. Bring down the next set of tick numbers. Then we ask ourselves, and then we have to double the answer and write it down here in the work area. So 3 times 2 is 6. We write it down in the work area. How many times does 60 something go into 396? And the answer is 6. So we write 6, and I have designated blue up here in the answer line, and also write it to the right of the 6 that we've computed up here in the above step. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 6 is 36, and 3 is 39. So 36 is the square root of 1296. Okay, so far so good. This is pretty easy, isn't it? Now we want to compute the square root of 80,802,121. It's really exactly the same process. We prepare the number for computation, and notice we're ticking right to left here, the decimal point. And notice I didn't put any decimal point and zeros to the right because this is a perfect square. So we ask ourselves, after we tick it, what is the maximum number squared that'll go into 80? The answer is 8. 8 times 8 is 64. Subtract it, we get 16. Bring down the next pair of tick numbers and double our answer. 8 times 2 is 16, and write that down in the work area here. So now we determine how many times 160 something goes into 1680. The answer is 9. So we write 9 down here in our answer line, and also we write 9 to the right of the 16 that we determined in the above step up here. 9 times 9 is 81. 9, 16, 96, so it ends up being 1521. We subtract it, and we get 159. Bring down the next pair of tick numbers, and then we come back up here and double this 89. 89 times 2 is 178. Then we come down here and ask ourselves, how many times is 1,780 something going to 15,921? The answer is 8. So we write 8 up here in our answer line that I have designated blue. And we come down here and write 8 into our work area to the right of the 178 that we've already computed. Multiply it out. We get 14,304. Subtract, and we get 1,617. Bring down the next set of tick numbers, which I have designated brown here, 21. Double this answer, which is 1,796, and we ask ourselves, how many times is 17,960 something going to 161,721? The answer is 9. And so we write 9 down in our answer line here, and we write the 9 down here in the work area to the right of our 1796 that we computed up here. Multiply it out, and we get 161,721. So, and we can tell now that whatever this big number is, 80,802,121, the square root of it is 8,989. And that's all there is to computing numbers. And notice we've taken the easy way out here and done perfect squares. Now we're going to do a little more complicated one. We're going to compute the square root of 3 to 3 decimal points. And most of us math folks know that's 1.732 to 3 decimal points. But we're going to use this method to compute it. So we do the tick marks, and since I excuse me, since I want to compute to 3 decimal points, notice I've got 4 sets of 0 here ticked off, so I can run the number at the end to 3 decimal points. So we ask her, oh, and one other thing, the decimal point works as a tick mark. The only difference between this and a tick mark, the decimal point and tick mark, is we write our decimal point down in the answer line. So we ask ourselves, what is the maximum number squared that'll go into 3? And the answer is 1. 1 squared is 1. Subtract, we get 2. Bring down the next set of tick marks. And we double this answer. 1 times 2 is 2. And write that down here in the work area. So we ask ourselves, how many times does 20-something go into 200? The answer is 7. So we write our 7 up here to the right of the decimal point in the answer line, and also write the 7 down here in the work area to the right of the 2. We double this, okay, and we multiply this out. 7 7 is 49, 14 and 4, 18, subtract, and we get 11. Bring down our next set of tick numbers, and we double this answer, and that's 17 times 2 is 34, and write that down here in the work area. Notice when we do this multiplication, we don't worry about decimal points. The system just takes care of itself. Now we determine how many times 340 something goes into 1100. The answer is 3. So we write 3 down here in our answer line, come down here and write the 3 to the right of the 34 and multiply it out, and we get 1029. We subtract and we get 71 and bring down the next set of tick numbers. Now we come up here and double this answer and we get 346. Now then we determine how many times 3,460 something goes into 7,100 right here. The answer is 2. So we write 2 in the answer line. Come down here and write the 2 to the right of the 346 that we've already determined up here and multiply it out, and it turns out to be 6924. We subtract and we get 176. Bring down the next set of tick numbers, and we ask ourselves, how many times does 34,640 something go into 17,600? Well, the answer to that is 0. It won't go in there as an integer. So we write down our 0 here, and we come down to our work area and write the 0 down to the right of the 3464 that we determined up here. And notice we now have 4 decimal points up here in our answer. So now then we can round it, safely round it, and say the answer to 3 significant figures is 1.732. And that's all there is to using this method.